Hi everybody, it's me Willow and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm here with another fun video for all of you guys to enjoy. Today we will be reviewing episode 5 of season 1 of The Testaments. Man, what another solid episode. I really enjoyed this episode. It was all about the girls' coming of age prom. Fun fact, my prom, technically I went to two proms. So my actual prom, my senior year, I wore this like black long dress with like a slit in it. Maybe if I can find a photo, I'll put it here. And then in my junior year, my grade 11th year, I was asked by a grade 12 to their prom. So I wore this like cute little like red short little thing because if you weren't a senior, you technically weren't supposed to wear a long dress. So I wore a short dress for the first prom I went to, which was the one I was asked to. And then for my prom, I wore a long black dress. So it was interesting to hear Paula and how she told Agnes when Agnes came out in her blue gown to represent her becoming a wife, how Paula was like, well, for my prom, I wore this black strapless gown. And then she had to like explain what strapless is because that's not a thing here in Gilead. So I just thought that was interesting kind of juxtaposition of where we are and how certain people like Paula are just like so strict about certain rules. And even in that scene, she mentions to Agnes that I know I've been really hard on you, but it's only because I want what's best for you, aka what she wants what's best for her, you know. She wants Agnes to do well, so she's gonna do well in the rest of her life, you know, obviously. But I just find it so interesting that she can be so condescending and hypocritical about certain little rules that Agnes must follow, but she doesn't follow the rules. Like, I'm sure they're not supposed to really talk about their past or like improper clothing that they used to once wear in their past life. Like, I just think it's pretty interesting, like that one little note, you know, to kind of set us off with the whole episode. So yeah, Agnes's character going through so much stuff. With the last episode, we saw that her undergarment, like her ties, were all messed up after coming home from Dr. Grove at the dentist. So this episode, we see a lot of different like PTSD that Agnes is suffering. One thing that I took note was that in the opening narration from Agnes, she mentioned that she went to like a psychiatrist. So I really feel like this is probably similar to June's narration in The Handmaid's Tale, where it's from like an unknown time in the future once they get out of Gilead. So that gives me a little bit of hope that Agnes Hannah is going to be able to get out of Gilead and seek proper help one day. So that does make me a little hopeful, but I did note that. And this whole episode, she's really going through just feeling really like horrible and guilty and dirty. And she's trying to push all of this aside because she doesn't want it to ruin her life. Because who do you confide in? Do you tell somebody and then risk ruining yourself for possible marriages in the future? And just hold it on for the rest of your life. And that seems like what Agnes is going to do. At this point, I don't know if I can trust anybody. Like, I guess she could tell Daisy, but Daisy is just like an open canning at this point. Like, I don't really trust her. I feel like one wrong move and she's going to get like found out. She's going to get put on the wall or something. I'm very worried about Daisy. But poor Agnes is just every time she sees Dr. Grove, she kind of like panics. And when she's doing her father-daughter dance in the middle of the prom ceremony, she's about to begin with her father and she sees Dr. Grove join Becca, and she can't for a moment. She really does seize up and like kind of gasp and freak out. And this has really severed her relationship with Becca because throughout this episode she's really unable to make that same connection that she used to have with her best friend. And by the end we're able to kind of like we're able to make nice again between Becca and Agnes, but there's obviously some repercussion. And I think a lot of people are questioning if Dr. Grove has done this to Becca. I feel like we might be able to investigate that a little bit more down the season. I definitely think they have a very interesting relationship. It seems like she's pretty close with her father, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this has never happened to her. I feel like this has happened to a lot of girls that have gone to see Dr. Grove at the dentist, maybe some of the wives as well. So I don't think this is a one-time thing, which just makes my blood boil, honestly. And another thing that made my blood boil was that after the whole ceremony of this prom where they're bringing out the younger commanders to dance with the daughters first to kind of get them comfortable and maybe like happy to be there, and then they bring out the actual mature, like balding white hair commanders who are like much more higher ranked, and they dance with the girls and they're very bad influences. They get Becca drunk, and then all the aunts are like so rude, like, because like Aunt Lydia is a little bit more understanding because she knows that it's the influence of the commanders, and they've told their girls to like go with the commander and to like listen to their suggestion, because why wouldn't you, because you're supposed to obey when you become their wife. But she understands that they're still in this like naive stage. They're technically not a wife. Like that's always been like the gray area for Aunt Lydia, is that she doesn't respect these women, but she doesn't want them to be violated, compared to the other aunts like Aunt Esme and Aunt Vidalia specifically. I feel like if they knew what happened to Agnes, they would blame her, and they would blame Becca for her getting drunk. Like they just don't really see the underlining incident, which is the commanders basically forcing the hand of these girls. So very interesting to see this conflict between the ants. We're definitely seeing that with Commander Judd as well, where he kind of spoke out to Aunt Vidalia saying that he thinks she deserves, maybe Aunt Lydia's position. And Aunt Lydia is getting kind of old and should step down. Aunt Vidalia, I don't know if she loved that, but then Aunt Lydia reamed into her at the end, saying it's her fault for letting these girls get drunk. So we will see. Infidelity can get pretty nasty, so I don't know if she necessarily has the same deep level heart that Aunt Lydia has, but of course Aunt Lydia can get pretty nasty too. So the whole aunt stuff with with Commander Judd is very interesting to me. But after the girls all dance with the commanders, they're then taken one by one into this back room where Commander Judd is there recording them on a web camera. And there's at least like 20 men on like a Zoom conference in the background, and they're all there to get to know these women a little bit better. Like, what are their wifely duties? And Agnes just freezes up. She freaks out. And Commander Judd takes his time, kind of relates back to his wife, Ruby, I believe that's her name, and how, they've got such a great relationship going for them, and that he really wants Agnes to come to the house, but as a wife, to come see Ruby and the baby and everything as it's coming along. But she has to be a wife, she has to find a commander. So she kind of pulls it together and she's able to get through this really, really creepy interview. But just craziness. And at one point, Agnes is able to dance with Garth, her crush. And Garth is like so weird in this episode because at one point, like, you really think he's on Mayday's side. And then at another point, you're like, is he actually just pretending this entire time? Because we learn a little bit more about him. Apparently, his father must be some sort of commander, because um, Commander Mackenzie mentions, like, on the car ride home, that he really wants better men like Garth and his father. And we hear that Garth is being promoted to a commander. That literally made me gasp out loud. I was on the train. I was like, oh, what do you mean he's becoming a commander? Craziness. So I'm like, is he like two in this world, or is he like really going to be completely undercover and like get more information by becoming a commander? And so now I'm wondering if he like grew up in Gilead and is like the ultimate mole, and he's going up against his family. Like, I feel like that would make a little bit more sense with how Daisy mentioned June to Garth, and Garth didn't know who June was. Is like, maybe he's stuck here in Gilead, he's never left, and he's working the inside. I think that would be really interesting, especially like if his family is like high ranking commanders and he's like trying to, get Mayday in and out, and he's trying to work with Daisy and all these people to cause this rebellion would be extremely interesting to me. So I'm wondering what's going to happen with Garth going on. And obviously, Agnes is really intrigued with him and is wondering if he could be her future husband. Obviously, that's never going to happen. They're going to put her with the oldest fucking man possible because he has to be super high status. And I just think it's crazy because it's like all these girls are fertile. So why wouldn't you put them with the younger commanders who probably have more v- vital, like, sperm compared to these older men? Like, I know they want the older men's legacy to like go on, but I'm like, is your sperm really that potent at this point of your life, especially with all like the radiation and everything that they've gone through their whole life? Whereas like these younger people, they've kind of been like breeded to do this. So like, why wouldn't you be passing the torch? But I know it's all their ego and stuff. They want as many offspring as possible, but it's just like my logic, like they have prominent eggs that are fertile with the young women. Like, why wouldn't they put them with the young men? I know it's they're pedophiles, stuff like that. I know it makes no logical sense to me though, So yeah. Um but yeah, Garth, I'm very interested to see what happens with him, especially because he was like really weird with Daisy as well. We got very little Daisy this episode, but he had an interaction with her. Like, he saved her because she let Toronto slip out and she told one of these commanders to stop touching her, and Garth slipped in at just the right moment, which was good. But then he like got all up in her space and was basically saying like she has to be worth for Mayday to get her out, which makes sense to me because I'm sure it's not that easy to just get a person out once they've committed to being like an undercover agent. But I really don't like how he just like kind of stepped in her space. I know he was also like trying to save her, play it off with other commanders walking around, but I don't know, like, I want to believe that he is a friend, but I feel like there has to be maybe some other ulterior motive. So I'm interested to see what happens with him and Daisy in next week's episode. And if we hear a little bit more about Mayday and some more updates now that he's possibly going to become a commander. Like, I feel like he's not going to be able to talk with Daisy as much once he's upgraded. So interesting. I also loved what Daisy did with Becca and how they were able to kind of have a one-on-one. And Becca gives her big confession that Agnes doesn't love her in the way that she loves her. So basically confirming all of our theories that she is queer, or at least highly interested in Agnes. And obviously that can't happen in Gilead. That's complete sin. We've seen that in The Handmaid's Tale, what happens to women who are interested in other women. They're either hung or they become handmaids. Seems like this world doesn't need handmaids, so I'm assuming she'd probably be hung on the wall to be made an example. I don't want that happening to Becca, but I thought it was really lovely that Daisy was able to like try and give her a comforting word by saying it's okay to feel this way. And obviously, Becca didn't like hearing that, but I think it was probably something that she will hold down the line and be like, okay, maybe in other places in the world, like Toronto, it's okay. And her talking with Agnes about running away, I really fear that she's going to run away maybe like before her wedding or something, and she's going to get caught. Like, I just don't feel like Becca has a positive outcome. I really think it's going to be negative, and I don't want that, but I think that's her future, which just makes me so scared for her. But the people I'm most worried about are definitely Becca and Daisy at this point. Like, I just feel like one wrong move from both of these girls, and they're going to be made examples of. Another girl I'm worried about is Shamanite. I'm totally butchering her name. Shu. Shamanite is, I think that's how you say her name, from played by Rowan Blanchard. I think she had a little bit more of a prominent role in this episode, whereas in the past she's just kind of been this little like bitchy character in the background. Whereas this episode, she has this like herbal tea that she's trying to kickstart her menstrual cycle. She drinks it with Hulda, and she also helps Becca during like the drunk moment. And at the end of the episode with um I'm gonna butcher her name as well. Jehoshaphat. I that's not how you say her name. I can't remember how they say her name in the show, but she's also another like really bitchy character, like really just being like showboating. And after the prom, she comes in and starts slandering Becca, saying that she's ruined herself. She was a great catch. Why did she get drunk? All this stuff. And Shu goes up to her and smacks her across the face. You know what that means? She's gonna lose her fucking hand, I think, in the future. Like, nothing happened. Seems like everything's okay. But I do not trust Je- Jehoshaphat. I don't trust her one bit. I definitely think she's going to use that against Shu in the future. So, very scared. But the end of the episode, we end it with Hulda getting her menstrual cycle over Shu. So we see tears in her eyes. Obviously, she's happy for her friend, but I think deep down she's really worried that she might not be fertile. And she keeps saying that she wants to have like triplets and she really wants to be like the best prim and proper wife there can be. But I'll be interested to see if she's like one of the only girls who does not get their menstrual cycle and what happens to her. Like if she ends up becoming like an aunt or something, I'd be very, very interested. I really love Rowan, so I know they didn't just cast her for nothing. Like she has to have a little bit more of a spicier role later in the season. But yeah, this was an episode. Crazy, honestly. I really liked it. I thought kind of keep like I feel like each episode is like an onion layer being revealed. Like last week we had Dr. Grove in that reveal. This week we have the onion peeling back of the whole commanders like on the Zoom call. Like even just the whole process of this whole prom thing, like opening up with the girls doing their dance. And it's not just the greens, it's also some of the plums and some of the little girls as well in the pink. I thought that whole scene was shot really beautifully and I thought their dance was very exquisite. But I had this like gut wrenching in my pit of my stomach, just being like, I can't believe these girls are just being primed, and all the men in the balcony just like watching them like predators. Like, it was disgusting. I'm telling you that. Just like so, so gut wrenching. Just like, like this show, man. I'm really proud of myself for continuing to watch this show because each episode just gets more heinous and heinous. And I am worried for my girl Agnes. I'm worried for Becca. I am worried for Daisy. I'm worried for all of them, honestly. I just want them to be happy and I want them to get on some sort of flight like the Angel flight and get the fuck out of there and go to Toronto. I will be there at Cruise and Tango ready to greet them, you know? Come here, get a little drag karaoke. Let's going on? So yeah, I'm interested to see how the last half of this season's going to go. No confirmation on season two just so far, but I feel like we'll probably get it because it seems like this series has been pretty popular and a lot of people have been talking about like Daisy's identity and like what's going to happen. And I think Chase Infinity is really prominent and is really growing in the industry. So I feel like a lot of people are turning into this series for her. Of course, Elizabeth Moth's cameos really help as well. I wonder if we'll get a little bit more of her maybe at the end of the season, maybe the last episode. I feel like that would be really nice to kind of like tie it all together. But yeah, I think this was a pretty solid episode. I love the different reveals, also kind of learning a little bit more about the feelings of our girls and where they like obviously they're not all prim and proper. Like I really think Shu slap and Becca getting drunk and Agnes's like mess up at the father-daughter dance and then also in the interview like with the all the commanders, like her mess up. I think it's really showing that these girls are just girls. And I think Agnes's little monologue of saying how their whole life they are little girls being primed to be wives and they have one night to have a little bit of teenager in them. And I think that's just like perfect. Like these are actually teenagers, like they shouldn't just be thrown into becoming wives and mothers. So, yeah, a lot to think about after this episode. If you guys got to see the Testaments, episode 5, season 1, make sure you let me know down in the comments below. Love having a conversation with all of you guys about the episodes. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and the post notification button so you don't miss out on any of my coverage for the rest of the season. I'm also covering season 3 of Euphoria right now, and I post weekly movie reviews and pop culture videos, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any of my content. I'm also on all the major social media platforms on TikTok, Instagram, the Words Expert app, Letterboxd, Serialized. You can find me at Willow D Steele on every single platform. Give me some love over there. All of your engagement really helps to grow my channel and my social media platforms, pushes me out into the algorithm, and helps me meet like-minded people just like you guys. So thank you so much for the support. I'm so grateful for all of you guys watching, and I'm excited to see episode 6 of The Testaments. Make sure you guys are here next week for my review. Thank you guys so much, and until next week, make sure you keep getting lost in film. Bye.